let's talk about Halloween. Halloween's right around the corner. And you have probably made a habit that when you come home and you bring home all the chocolate, you just say to yourself, I'm just going to have one piece. I promise, just one piece. Whether it's when you first buy the boxes of chocolate, you're telling yourself, I'm just going to have one. Whether you've just took your daughter or your son trick-or-treating and then you came home and you're like, I'm just going to have one. Or you walk into the lunchroom at your office and there's so many treats and you're like, I'm just going to have one. But that's never, ever, ever the case. One treat turns into two turns into an entire chocolate bar, and then the entire chocolate bar all of a sudden turns into a full-blown binge, and there are wrappers, empty wrappers in front of you, and you're like, what the heck just happened? So I want to share a few things that I needed to change regarding sweets like chocolate and being able to enjoy those foods guilt-free and without this spiral. Without one turns into two turns into three, and the next thing you know, you're feeling super sick. So the first thing is that I needed to rewire my brain so I could stop seeing chocolate as the scary monster. I had this fear of sweets and chocolate and, of course, so many other foods, but chocolate was one of them, and I'm sure you can probably relate to this because what do you hear? You hear chocolate's bad. Oh, you're on a diet, better stop eating chocolate. Like, you hear this information. And then this information gets ingrained into your brain and you believe it to be this is like law, like this is the truth. Like, chocolate's bad. Like, I shouldn't be having chocolate. And even when you've started healing your relationship with food and you intellectually know that chocolate is not bad, but you can't help but spiral out of control after having something sweet, or you can't help but, feel a little guilty, especially when you're having some throughout the day. Because normally you would try to be like super perfect all day and then, binge in the evening. And that was something that I needed to do when I was rewiring my brain. I needed to stop seeing chocolate as this bad, scary monster, and I could have it during the day. I could have it with my lunch, like I could have some during the day, which actually prevented me from binging on the entire box when I got home from work. So that was a big thing. Number 2, I needed to learn the difference between cravings and urges so that I knew when to give in and when to say no. And this is so important because having this knowledge of, am I experiencing a craving right now? Am I experiencing an urge right now? It's so important, not just during Halloween and when you're around sweets, but around social events, around holidays, right? Halloween's not the only holiday where sweets appear, right? You go out for dinner, you're at work, or it's late at night. Like, are you actually experiencing a craving or are you actually experiencing an urge? And learning this difference is so important because what often happens is you're spiraling after having some chocolate because you are not even experiencing a craving in the first place. You were experiencing an urge, so of course you led into a binge. Or you weren't even experiencing a craving and you're just eating it because it's in front of you. It's so habitual. So of course you just were on autopilot mode. So learning the difference is super important. Number 3, I needed to just trust myself around trigger foods. You need self-trust. When I built up self-trust, I was able to enjoy some chocolate, and then my mind no longer said, F it, my day is ruined, gotta do better tomorrow, and end up finishing the box of chocolates and regretting it all night with my hands on my stomach being like, I'm never gonna do that again. That stopped happening because I actually built up self-trust. You can't expect yourself to stop after 1 or 2 pieces of chocolate if you don't actually build up trust. If you're just telling yourself, no, today I promise I'm going to stop after 1, but you don't trust yourself, you're not going to stop after one. And it's not your fault. It's just you got to actually build up that self-trust. So trusting yourself around trigger foods is one of the most important things. And that's what really, really, really helped me control myself around sweets. You can't skip this step. Like the people who stop after one or two sweets, it's not like they have more willpower or they're more disciplined. They just actually built up that trust around those foods. And then lastly, I needed to establish boundaries, which is so important. Boundaries, which allowed me to actually confidently say no to sweets when I genuinely didn't want them without feeling FOMO. So having boundaries is really important and not feeling like this fear of missing out. Maybe your partner pulls out a bunch of the sweets. And if you really don't want it, you know you're not hungry, you know you're not experiencing a craving, you need to have this boundary with yourself to confidently say, no, I am good, and not feel like you're depriving yourself or not feeling like you're missing out. It's only missing out when you actually want the thing, but you're not allowing yourself to have it. So if you actually wanted, let's say, some chocolate one night and you weren't allowing yourself to have it, that's very different than I actually don't want anything. I'm good. I'm still full from dinner. I already had some treats for lunch with my lunch. Like I don't really want anything. And then your partner starts pulling out all the Halloween candy, your daughter, and all these sweets. And you're like, I don't want it. You need to have a boundary with yourself to confidently say no because you don't want it without feeling like you're missing out, because you're not missing out. That's the truth. You're not missing out. So the 4 different shifts that you're going to have to make if you actually want to enjoy chocolate guilt-free and be able to have a binge-free Halloween is number 1. And by the way, I'm going to be running a masterclass. It's called your Binge Free Halloween Masterclass, where I'm going to help you go from feeling scared of sweets, triggered by sweets, out of control with sweets, to actually feeling like a badass who can trust yourself around sweets. You can have one or two and simply move on with your day. So be sure to check the link in the show notes and be sure to join this masterclass because it's not just about Halloween. This is about every other social event or holidays that's going to come up. And really, you can use the tools that I'm teaching you inside this masterclass for life. So the 4 things that you're going to have to need to focus on, and we're going to dive so much deeper into the masterclass that you're going to be a part of. Number 1, you got to rewire your brain to stop seeing chocolate as the scary monster and actually allow yourself to have some during the day, which will prevent you from binging later on at night. Number 2, you got to learn the difference between cravings and urges so you know when to say yes and when to say no. Number 3, you need to trust yourself around trigger foods so that when you have some chocolate, you don't say, F it, my day is ruined, got to do better tomorrow. And then you end up finishing the rest of the box of chocolates. You got to actually build up self-trust. And then number 4 is you need boundaries. You need boundaries with yourself, boundaries with other people, so you can actually confidently say no to sweets when you genuinely don't want them, again, without feeling deprived, without feeling FOMO. So this is so important. These are the 4 things that really supported me. And then we're going to dive deeper into this inside of the Your Binge Free Halloween Masterclass. No more throwing all the chocolate and candy away. No more all or nothing mentality. No more relying on willpower and motivation. No more blaming your kids. No more blaming your husband. No more blaming your coworkers. Like, it's time to take your power and your control back to end your binge eating. So that one treat doesn't turn into 2, turn into 3, turn into 4. Next thing you know, there's all these, wrappers in front of you. You can start to feel less impulsive around sweets, whether it's a piece of chocolate for Halloween, or it's a piece of cake on Christmas, or maybe it's your Aunt Becky's cheesecake on Thanksgiving. Like, you can gain the power. And the biggest power is to also say no. Just like one of my clients, Nadia, she bought a box of 150 chocolates, and she had the box unopened for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. She didn't have an urge to binge. She said, I have full confidence that when I have a craving for some, I'll just have a few and simply move on with her day. But she didn't have the desire to. It was unopened for 2 weeks. She said, I went to Costco 2 weeks ago, saw a deal on Halloween chocolates. I work with preschoolers, always make them a little treat bag. And she said, I hesitated to buy the chocolate because in the past, it was a big trigger. You start with one little chocolate. By the time you know it, there's a dozen open wrappers. And she said, I leaned into the fear. This is so important. She said, I leaned into the fear. I bought the box of 150 chocolates because I'm a badass. Yes, she's one of my clients. She knows that. I'm a badass and I can trust myself and I can do hard things. So she was at the register. She turned back around to get them and it's been 2 weeks. Those chocolates were in her pantry unopened. And she said, like I told you, when I finally get a craving, I know that I can have a couple and move on. I'm allowed to have some chocolate when I crave it, and this is a massive win. So during this masterclass, your Binge Free Halloween masterclass, I'm going to walk you through the process to be able to trust yourself. So just like my client Nadia, you can lean into the fear, go all out. You can buy the 150 box of chocolates and know that you're not going to have a dozen open wrappers by the end of the evening. This goes beyond willpower, you guys. Like this goes beyond motivation. It goes beyond forcing yourself. Come on, just don't do it. It goes beyond just resist it. Just resist the urge. It goes beyond that. Where you're finally in the driver's seat, having the power, knowing that you can walk away from the box of chocolates because in the moment, you're going to actually know if it's actually a habit, if you're experiencing a craving, or if you're just eating it because it's there. And that is freedom. The freedom is not just eat all the Halloween candy. The freedom is not don't have any at all. The freedom is to know, am I actually experiencing a craving? Am I experiencing an urge? Or am I just eating it because it's in the lunchroom? Or my daughter pulled out the chocolates? Like when you know the difference and you can actually listen to and honor your body and trust your body, this is key. You're going to build up self-trust to differentiate whether you're experiencing a true craving, an urge to binge, or you're just having something sweet because it's habitual. My clients have used this process 70 days binge-free, enjoying foods without guilt. I'm not depriving myself anymore. I'm not restricting myself anymore. It's so incredibly freeing after spending the last 20 plus years doing some type of restriction. My other client said, I'm getting so comfortable leaving snacks in a package. I can have one or two and save the rest for later, where normally I would just finish the whole package regardless of my hunger and satisfaction cues. One of my clients said, I can say that after 20 years I'm finally binge free and no longer eat in secret, have obsessive food thoughts, feel shame and disgust with myself, pretending to quote unquote be clean and public and then raid in the pantry when I return home. This could be you too. So inside of this masterclass, I'm going to really help you rewire your brain so that you can confidently be around chocolate when you're with your kids or you're at work in the lunchroom. How to learn the difference between cravings and urges so you know when to give in, when to say no. How to trust yourself around trigger foods so that when you do have some chocolate, you can just simply move on. You don't get into the all or nothing mentality. Oh my God, my day's ruined. There's no point of eating healthy. And actually learn the process that I use personally to establish boundaries that allowed me to stay binge-free for over 4 years and confidently say no to sweets when I just genuinely don't want them. And like I said, this is not just about Halloween. This is about every other holiday and social event that's going to come up, even for the rest of 2024, the rest of 2025. Like you can use these tools for life. For life. So the masterclass is happening on Monday, October 28th. You can register down below, live or replay. If you register, you're not even able to come live, you will get the replay. It's lifetime access. This is going to set you up for all the other social events coming. So many of my clients are like, oh my gosh, I already have so many social events. I know what's going to happen. And, the rest of October, November into December. So these tools are going to really set you up for life. So I cannot wait to see you inside of the masterclass so that you can not only just have a binge-free Halloween, but you can have a binge-free holiday for the rest of 2024 and going into 2025. Be sure to register through the link down below. I cannot wait to see you inside of the masterclass, and we'll chat soon.